And there's just like a lot of the rest of society, of middle America and the countrysides and those types of people who are just not even going to see it coming.
But that's why we're out there. And the important word that you used was initiative, because I really think, when people hear the word inequality, they like to blame something, right?
Yeah.
There will be no reason for this. I'm sure someone's going to come back at me for saying that, but of course there are people who we have to help along the way, no question about it. But for those who are healthy and are listening to this podcast and are saying, I don't know exactly what she's talking about, but I'm going to start reading up on some of these new ways of doing things and make sure to at least understand it. I think within that kind of initiative, they'll find it. They just will find it. There's going to be so much opportunity. It's going to be so exciting. And I think, again, creativity and, especially young people using their imaginations, they're not held back by any preconceived notions. So
I ask all the questions I ask because I'm trying to solve little question marks I have in my head about the future. And it's really difficult at this time to see around the corner because so much is changing so quickly. Mm-hmm. And there's all of these converging technologies, as you describe, yes. Robotics and AI. And then when I put robotics and AI together, I go, fuck. Because, do you know what I mean? Because I keep coming back to this question of what am I going to do? And not in, I'm just going to
what's good about that? You know what's really good about that? That will motivate you.
It does.
Of course it does. It's great.
It motivates me to ask people like you the question 17 times in a row to try and find the answer. But it's a real point because I run businesses. We have at our headquarters, which is around the corner, it's about 25,000 square foot office. We have hundreds of people in that building. And I'm thinking about the roles that we're hiring for, and we're now looking at them through the lens of agentic AI, so AI agents. And then if I overlay that with robotics and AI, I'm going, what roles would we need to hire in the future? Because theoretically, can you name a single role in a media company that would, when I'm talking about in the robotics era, that would really need to be done by a human, I guess, other than one could say human-to-human sales, will still have some kind of element of human touch to them?
We've learned a lot from the ancient game of Go.
Yeah.
So you've heard about AlphaGo, which was Alphabet, Google, basically devising a program to compete against the Go champions. Go is much more complicated than chess.
Yeah, it's like a board game, basically.
Right. So I think the champion of the world at the time was a South Korean, and he was sure he was going to beat this machine. Well, the machine beat him, and he was crestfallen. And then he got his chutzpah, to use a New York word, back. And he said, wait a minute, I'm going to start playing against machines. And so now he's playing against machines. His game is so much better that when he competes against humans, and those competitions are the more important ones, right? When he competes against other human beings, the machine has kept him at his champion. And of course, everyone's using the machine. So we're going to artificial intelligence.
But he still can't beat a machine, can he? He still can't beat the best machine in the world.
No, he can't. But he can occasionally. But people don't want to go see machines competing against machines.
I get that because humans like human error and they like to be able to relate and to aspire. But as it relates to the world of work, the incentive is productivity. Mm-hmm. And my humanoid robot isn't going to get sick and it's going to have a PhD in everything. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to see a human failing at their desk.
Right.
I want the humanoid robot.
Right. But then your robot and your AI is really focused on the past, right? That's what it's ingested.
It can make predictions, though, based on that past.
Pattern recognition.
Which is how my brain works, right? It's like a neural network.
But that's why we chose the word disruptive. disruptive means the traditional world order and patterns, therefore, that the robots and others will recognize is going to change, right?
Sorry, what does that mean?
So when we're doing our research, we have a white sheet of paper. There's no history for this, right? And so we're doing a lot of original research. So AI machines might use our research as because we put it out there. But
how does the AI think differently to a human, though, in terms of, I thought the human brain was building, predicting essentially something based on lots of information. And AI is basically doing the same thing with neural networks. It's making a prediction based on lots of new information. And therefore, if we get to AGI, it can create new information.
Yes, and it will. But AGI, Elon will say it's 2 years away. And it does seem, we're able to generate PhDs and rocket scientists now in the AI world, so he's probably right. But I also think about this as giving us super intelligence. So could ChatGPT do what we've done? Maybe, I don't know. Actually, it's a very interesting exercise. I'm going to ask our team to do that before we put it out, to do a model, a SpaceX model, financial model, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement between now and 2050, when we have, in the 2040s, Elon expects, if not sooner, to colonize Mars. I'll see what kind of model it comes back with.
In terms of how much money?
In terms of how correct it is and what it uses to get there.
Okay, I'll do that now. SpaceX.
A financial model. Or income statement.
Okay.
Income statement.
Let me ask the really smart model. Let's do 3.0. Make a you're an investor in SpaceX?
Yes, in the private fund, yes.
So am I. Make a SpaceX income statement. Income statement based on Elon's predictions?
Yes. That's good.
Elon's predictions.
Yeah. This will be very interesting.
Now until 2050. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll put that on the screen so everybody can watch. And this is essentially going to look at everything he said about going to Mars and colonizing Mars, and then tell you how valuable that company's going to be, essentially?
Yes. I'm not sure if you asked the question that way. Did you say?
I just said make a SpaceX income statement based on Elon's predictions from now until 2050, and then I can ask it what the market cap would be.
I wonder how long it's going to think.
It's thinking for a while.
Yeah, it's going to think a long time, I have a feeling. And then it's going to take you through. And I think, it was interesting, DeepSeek, the breakthrough it had on the reasoning side was it kept asking questions so it could get to the right answer faster. Mm-hmm. I think they're all adopting it now because DeepSeek's open source.
Yeah, and they didn't need to spend as much money on the training side because
that's what they say. They said $6 million trained on a high-end workstation, and that of course caused $1 trillion worth of damage in the U.S. market with NVIDIA, one of the biggest casualties, because people said, well, wait a minute, we're doing these data centers. You mean we don't need all those big data center servers to do this work? We could do a high-end workstation for $6 million? The answer is the pre-training for that model was done on a 50,000 GPU cluster that the hedge fund had. Mm-hmm. And the last step of the large language model was the $6 million step.
Okay, it's made its mind up now.
Oh.
So it says Starlink revenue in 2050 would be 250 billion. Mm-hmm. It says launch and Starship revenue would be 120 billion. So the total revenue would be 370 billion. Cost of goods sold would be 172 billion. Gross profit, therefore, would be 200 billion. Operating expenses, 37 billion. Operating income would be 161 billion. After tax, so the net income would be 128 billion.
All right. And I have to be honest, I haven't seen the last stage of this model. That'd be very interesting. I'd love to get a a copy of that, if you could send it to me, can you?
100%. I'll email it to you straight after. You know, when I asked ChatGPT earlier, I said, who is the number one woman in the world in investing? It repeatedly said your name. So that's a pretty remarkable thing to have accomplished, especially in a male-dominated industry where there isn't many women that manage to rise to the top of that industry. So what is it about you, in hindsight? You know, it's difficult to be objective about oneself, but what is it about you that meant that you were successful in a male-dominated industry, in an industry that's incredibly difficult to be successful in?
My advice to all young people getting into their first job especially, but even later jobs, is my mission when I started was to make my boss look brilliant. Now, why do I say that? It's much more applicable today and possible today than it was back when there were no computers and no cell phones, which is when I started, right? But what did I do? My boss wanted to communicate, he was an economist, wanted to communicate in charts that, you know, he couldn't find. So I figured out a way. I went to our time-sharing system. That's all you could do back then. Time-sharing is an ancient mainframe technology. And I figured out a way to make these charts and delight him. And I loved doing it, and I loved learning. I loved learning about technology. I learned and about economics through him. So that was the first thing. And then...
Why is it important to make your boss look good?
Well, I think because if you do make him look good, first of all, you owe him a debt of gratitude if he turns around and gives you more growth opportunities. So, but if he or she doesn't, then you know it's time to go to the next place where you make that next boss look brilliant and maybe you have the growth trajectory. I had bosses who, they loved the fact that I loved what I was doing, that I had such high conviction in what I was doing, and I'm going to give Art Laffer a lot of credit for that. When I walked into the financial world, I knew more about economics than most of the people in the room. And that was a great source of confidence, a great source of confidence. And when I was leaving that firm, someone said, my boss at the time said, I was moving from LA to New York. My boss said, you've only been doing this for 3 years. You're not ready to become their economist.